Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Hello, my name is Terry and I'm an alcoholic. I first walked in here, I walked up and at the two men standing here, and I reached up to get the podium to put it down where it should be. And they said it's the group conscience that it's up here. So I ran into a tradition and the workings of Alcoholics Anonymous right as I walked in the room. I'm an alcoholic and I'm grateful to be sober today. Grateful to be at a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous, the one place in the world where I eventually feel comfortable. I don't feel comfortable right away. I got to check you out first, because it's any group, most of whom I don't know. I know it's about a dozen people in here that I know, but there's a lot of you I haven't met before, and whenever I see a bunch of people I haven't met, you always look like you're in on something that I don't know about, and that you're going to embarrass me with some secret knowledge. And then I get reassured that you're regular, dangerous alcoholics. Anyway, I calm down. Yeah, I grew up nearby here. This is kind of born in Inglewood, raised in Hawthorne. And I grew up with alcoholism. It was unusual. I always share this, that in our family, the first serious discussion I ever remember around the kitchen table was on the disease concept of alcoholism, because my father was a member of Alcoholics Anonymous in 43 and 44. And and my mother had three brothers who were alcoholic. And there were cousins and various things. People who were kind of interesting were alcoholic in the family. A few who were interesting weren't, but I don't know, they might have. We had this old-fashioned thing where the women did not become alcoholic at the same rate as men, but I think the disease is pretty well dished out evenly. It's a little more inhibition in those days. I admire all the women who overcome that and took your rightful place in the fellowship. Anyway, alcoholism was on my mind as long as I can remember thinking of anything. And I didn't drink till I was 21. I was a parochial school kid who was aware that my father died of alcoholism. He died when I was in the first grade. He died in withdrawal at a dry-out place in Vermont Avenue. I was aware that my Uncle Bill was in the program, I went to meetings with him, and he had an amends list. This impressed me. I remember that list, that piece of paper he had, the names of everybody he owed money to. And he had the amount, and he was scratching off payments. And I thought, man, this is a serious thing they got. Hey, they're tough. So I was left with, a good attitude about it. My mother pointed out alcoholics in the neighborhood who were sober for our admiration. We had to, there he is, Mr. Moorfield. He's been sober 6 years. We all look him over a little bit. Looked kind of a bad complexion, but otherwise he didn't look too bad. So this was a lot of thinking and talk about this. I had a chance, and I wrote a paper on alcoholism when I was in college, 2 years before I had a drink. I read the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous and several other books and wrote a paper. So by the time I drank, I had given some thought to the matter. And part of my thinking was that I had a pretty good chance of being alcoholic. Now, I don't know how many people do this, but I thought about this. Now, what are my chances before I ever drank? And I put my chances at about 50-50. I figured it's 1 out of 10 for the general population. That's what the research said. But it's much higher for people who have a bunch of alcoholic relatives. And I had a bunch of alcoholic relatives. I also had one brother, 6 years older than myself, who was showing a lot of signs of being normal, and I thought that statistically this was not good for me, that he got through the line. And so when my 21st birthday came, and that was the day it was all right to drink, according to the confirmation pledge thing that Catholic kids took for the most part. And I went to the store and bought a bottle of bourbon and sweet vermouth, bitters, maraschino cherries, and mixed up this batch of Manhattans. And I have no words to describe how deeply impressed I was by a high of an alcohol. It went right to the marrow of my bone. I mean, it not only went down to my tummy and warmed up my tummy and loosened up the tightness in my chest, it raised my IQ about 25 points, gave me an unshakable conviction that anything I'd say would be interesting. This is one of God's major dirty tricks on the human race, by the way, that those of us who are alcoholic have two things happen simultaneously when we begin to drink. We begin to feel interesting and become boring at the same instant. And this is very tough on the rest of the world. But it was, those words don't do it. It's deeper than that. It wasn't that I really liked it and it's pleasurable. It's deeper than pleasure. Goes into the bones. It says, it's very important that you keep the world safe for drinking. And don't talk to anyone about this. They will not understand that it is crucial that you get a drink when you want one or need one. Just get it. Don't discuss it. Don't go into a bunch of rigmarole about this. Just get the drink. Very important. We'll discuss it later. Think about it later, you know. I remember that feeling. My skull, the bones in my skull would get high. Kind of a buzzy, safe, numbed, buzzy feeling. They can't get you now, you know. Some people talk about being bulletproof. I wasn't around bullets very much. I was embarrassment proof, you know. I'll take that to bulletproof any day, you know. And I was puzzled by my own. I didn't know what to make of it. I was a self-conscious, on the verge of being a booze fighter from the first day I drank. And I choose to believe that I'd crossed the invisible line sometime in the early afternoon of my 21st birthday. And it was kind of all over to begin with. I was a student at that time in the seminary. I had several years to go yet. And I went through my studies just fine because they didn't allow any drinking in the seminary. And so it's funny, you know, the people who really don't know anything about the disease do wonder, you know, how can they go so long without a drink when they're locked or whatever, and seemingly without too much trouble or even missing it or thinking about it too much? Well, we do. My problem is when I started to drink. And again, I didn't get drunk all the time. Most of the time there wasn't enough. I didn't have much money. But it was always a big deal. Drinking is a big deal to me. Wasn't the first day, it's a big deal right now. The biggest deal in my life is that I get to be sober. And I say get to be sober. People, when I got towards the end of my drinking, said, an alcoholic is someone who's lost control over his drinking, her drinking, powerless over alcohol. And I couldn't identify with those words, with that way of putting it. I always felt that I could control my drinking anytime I wanted to. I could quit drinking anytime I wanted to. I could stay quit anytime I wanted to. My trouble is that I never knew what I was going to want. It was a big mystery to me what I'd want, in an hour from now or a day from now. I wonder what I'm going to want tomorrow. I could identify with the thing of not having any control over what I want. That would just, and it wouldn't be a big battle. Oh, I just can't stand it. No. It just would be, no, I'm not drinking. And then, oh, I get to drink. I'll be damned. I thought I'd last longer this time. Well, here goes. Which always made me feel just crazy instead of alcoholic. Anyway, I went through those first, those student days, drinking alcoholically, but hardly ever getting to drink. And it was almost like a laboratory experiment, the alcoholism under laboratory conditions, because it was just so clear. Now it's so clear. I'd be finally get to drink, and I would drink more than they would. I would always lie. I would lie right off the bat if I was drinking. And I didn't think, oh, you're lying. I never felt like I was telling lies. I was just exercising my constitutional right to privacy. I would take great care that you did not know the truth. And I do a little kind of role played in my own head what it would have been like had I ever told the truth when I drank, and I never did. But if I had, and let's say this is Friday night, it was a night like this, and I was invited over to one of your houses, and we were going to have booze there, and I didn't have a better offer, I would definitely come over. And if I were going to tell the truth, which I never did, I would get to your house, knock on the door, you'd answer the door, I'd say, hi, thanks for asking me over tonight. I'd like to lay my cards on the table and get a few things straight before we start out tonight. I'm here to drink. And I'd like to have a double scotch right now. No, not after we talk, right now. Give me a drink and I'd say, you were nice to ask me over, and I'm going to be a good sport. You got games to play, I'll play the games. You got other people coming over, I'll mix it up and try to, keep this thing going. Just don't get between me and the bar, and we're going to get along all right tonight. Now, usually on this kind of an evening, I get a little bit gassed and a little drunk kind of something, but usually I do all right. But once in a while, I go crazy. And I might get in a fight or throw up in the rug or try to seduce somebody. But that's the chance you take when you ask me over. I don't know. I just do that little exercise to remind myself how far I always was from telling the truth. I'd never come close to saying anything like that. And I'd try to my best not to look as bad as I felt. When a hangover, I tried to always hide how interested I was in getting a drink. I'm interested. If there's the possibility of getting a drink, I am focused. I'm not just, well, it'd be nice if, no. I'm ready. And if I'm frustrated on this thing, plan B goes into operation. Go someplace else. And it's valuable, you know. A high has a value that I have no words for. And now this is pure speculation, kind of my part, but it seems to me that for an alcoholic, getting high in alcohol is the closest thing to a spiritual experience that isn't. It's not one, but it's a lot like one in many ways. It's sort of a phony transcendence. It's a chemical imitation of a spiritual experience, where you feel like above it all, the little nitpicky things of life don't matter, kind of a broad, sweeping view of things, sort of a generous spirit flying above it all. And the one thing about being high that's exactly the opposite of a spiritual experience or being in fit spiritual condition is that when I am in fit spiritual condition, I'm in good shape to meet people. Like the classic case of being in a fit spiritual condition is an alcoholic on the way, sober alcoholic on the way to an AA meeting. Now, there's a few things about being sober and on the way to a meeting. One is, if you're going to a meeting, that means you think you're a fairly needy person. You know, there's a lot of entertainment out there, things to do. You're also pretty sure that important phone call is not going to come in because, you know, important phone calls aren't coming in anymore for you. That you might as well go to a meeting. And you're going to a meeting, and so you're not going to a place that's noted for having the most eligible, well-adjusted, psychologically, financially secure, stable people to meet. You know, this is probably not where you're going to meet that person of your dreams. And you're so sure by this. So a person on the way to an AA meeting already found out they're not going to meet the person of their dreams. Like it's over. And once you know you're not going to meet the person of your dreams and you're not going to miss anything by staying home, that means we're usually so ready to not have our own way by the time we actually go to a meeting that we even give everyone permission to be neurotic and a little boring, because what else do you expect at an AA meeting? And since I don't have a big agenda for you, I'm actually in good shape to meet you. I can just say hi. I don't have a script for you. I don't expect us to, for this to be the big moment of life where we're going to find each other. I don't expect anything. Hi. And I'm sober. And if you're sober with no agenda for the other person and in a friendly spirit, that's a terrific condition to meet somebody. That's the way you meet friends, people who are going to be friends for life, and have your heart open. We're in great shape. That's deeply good spiritual shape. And when I have several double scotches and have this rush of a phony spiritual experience, I'm never in worse shape to meet somebody. You know? When I'm drinking, I am incapable of paying attention to another human being, except in terms of myself. I wonder what she thinks of me. I wonder what he thinks. That was very clever. I bet I got him that. And I can't. When I'm drinking, alcohol uses up my energy. The drinking project completely consumes me. That's all I can do. If I'm drinking, man, I'm drinking. Now, I could do some other things on the side. I could have a conversation with you, and I can pay enough attention to what you're saying to think up something to say back. but I can't actually care about you. I mean, I'm all for you. I hope you do fine. I just don't have any time or energy to actually care what happens to you once I'm drinking. I wish I did. I approve of caring. I think it's really good to care for other people. I just don't happen to have the energy to do it if I've had a drink because I'm too busy. The drinking experience requires a lot of attention. You got to keep the lines open for the supply. I've got to be careful that you don't notice that I'm getting sloppy. I've got to make sure that I got enough money, and I got to make sure about a lot of things. There's lots to do, and I've got to think over the deep truths of life besides that. And I can't afford to have your agenda take up much of a place in my head because it's full. It's everything is occupied. Now, everyone in the world knows this, by the way. They might not put it in these words, but your dog notices it. Little kids notice it just like that. They don't want to be around anybody's drinking because it's no fun. You can't pay attention to them. Anybody, old, young, we're a very burdensome, boring, crushing, non-responsive, in the way, frightening disappointment under the influence of alcohol. On a good day. Anyway, I'm getting a little general here. I went along and struggled through the seminary. I was ordained a priest, and I live and work as a priest in East Los Angeles now. And I went down the tubes quickly. I made a lot of resolutions not to drink too much. Sometimes I kept the resolution, sometimes I didn't. I had no idea when I would and when I wouldn't. It went along until I quit drinking one time for almost 6 months. I resumed drinking with the thought that anybody who could quit for almost 6 months had proved he could quit, and if you know you can quit, you might as well start. Because if there's any trouble, you just quit. That made sense to a few of you here. You're in the right place. And then I started missing things. I was in South Central Los Angeles, not too very far from here. St. Anselm, 70th and Van Ness. And that's where I kind of got caught. I was missing things and talked to the pastor and said, "You better not drink." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest that myself. I just won't drink anymore." And lasted a little while. And then I was drinking again. We had another talk. I don't know how many of those we had, but after a few of them, he turned me into his boss. And I got to go downtown and talk to the cardinal. Now, that's kind of an honor for a young priest. Usually you don't get, hardly ever get to talk to the cardinal, one-on-one. And so I had an audience with His Eminence, James Francis Cardinal McIntyre, and Monsignor Benjamin Hawks, and we had this little three-way discussion. And we came to the conclusion I should not drink anymore. And I went off, and I lasted 2 weeks for the cardinal at a parish fashion show at Western Avenue Golf Course. And I didn't drink all the way through it, but afterwards the husbands, the women of the women's club were the models, fashions from pennies or something. Anyway, so I hung out with their husbands and it occurred to me that having a double scotch was something that I deserved by that stage. And I appeared the next morning at 7:45 for the 6:30 Mass. And I said to my boss, "I guess this is it." He said, "Yeah, this is it." All I had to do was just make the arrangements for getting... I lost my assignment. That's a euphemism we use in my part of the world for getting fired. You lose your assignment. Getting fired is always tough, even if you can get a job easy. But if you live where you work and drive a company car, It's a major change. Very fast. And it's funny that I was talking about the other day about this to somebody. You know, when we get into trouble, I was in trouble by then, you know, lost my job, lost my assignment. I was a priest still. I was a priest without an assignment. That means no pay, nothing to do, and kind of just hanging there. And that lasted only a few days, and I was sent to a hospital for aversion treatments. This was in 67. And there were no treatment centers around in 67. It's almost as bad then as it is now. They're closing them all down. I went to this aversion where you get warm salt water and a nausea drug and something to drink and have this. But you know, when you get fired or you go to or you get hospitalized, most of your relatives find out, your neighbors find out, all your friends find out, and it's like dun 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 dun. You really get some attention, you know, and they think, oh gee, I'm so sorry. This is not. When we do it first, we get attention, you know. And you know, I didn't feel so bad. This is my theory about us alcoholics when we get into trouble. If you get in a wreck or get fired or divorced or disgraced, jailed, you know, everyone else is, oh, and I live with a sense of doom every day. And when doom actually arrives, it's not that much of a contrast to a regular day, you know. It's kind of like more interesting. A little, you get to go to new places. It's adventurous. It's not boring like the doom you have when you're making it. No. Anyway, and I went through this aversion treatment thing and knew that my drinking days were over. I was embarrassed that it came to this. I returned back, and they had me on hold a while, and I got a new assignment up above Santa Barbara, and arrived there, and I just knew it was over. Someone warned me when I said something about something radical from the pulpit. You better watch out, Father, they'll send you to the boondocks. I said, this is the boondocks. Anyway, another remark they said to me is that, oh, Father, we're so glad to have you here. They used to just send alcoholics up here all the time. And I thought, they did? And then in less than 4 months, I was drinking again. And then I started drinking on a Thursday night before a dinner on Sunday, where some pillars of the parish had invited me over to check out the new guy. And I arrived, and I'd been drinking a little wine, pretty steady, from Thursday night all day Friday, Friday night all day Saturday, Saturday night, Sunday. And by the time I got to this dinner, I was a little unsure of myself. And they offered me a different drink, and I had these aversion treatments. All I could drink was wine. Anything else I'd throw up immediately. So I just had this wine. I thought they'd think I'm distinguished and moderate, having a little wine. And they finally called dinner, and I wasn't feeling too good, but I thought, good, we're having dinner. My body will be metabolizing the alcohol during dinner. It breaks down these big fat ethyl alcohol molecules. They drew these molecules when I was in treatment then on the board. They're pretty complicated molecules, the ethyl alcohol. And they crack open, and they become sugar and water and acetaldehyde and different things. And I just thought, my body's taking care of this. And while I'm doing that, the food was passed around, and I had some roast beef and some vegetables and mashed potatoes. And the next thing I knew, I was down there. And they came up slow, hoping nobody had noticed. And they say, are you all right? Oh, just fine, just a little tired. Just thought I'd take a nap on the mashed potatoes. And what really made me upset is that I'd get all straightened up and just sitting right, and I'd wake up again down there. I could never remember going down. I'd be fine and wake up. And come up slow, and then wake up down there again. It was It was a tough meal. Probably a lot tougher for everyone else in the room than it was for me, you know. And I got to go to treatment again the next day, and have my aversion treatments again. And I thought, well, anybody can get one ball past the plate, you know, you get strike out once, but this won't happen again, I'm sure. And it was a whole year before it happened again, and then it happened again and again and again. And the fifth time back to the hospital, they asked me never to call them up again because I was demoralizing the staff and the other patients. And the sixth time I was detoxed was in the psych ward in downtown Los Angeles, and I went from there. And it was, I always like to mention what happened that last detox. I was kind of most of the way through it, about ready to be released, when and I just had this overwhelming sense that I would be drunk again pretty soon. That it didn't matter who I talked to or what prayer I prayed or what promise I made or what book I read, what counselor I saw. It didn't matter. You're a flake. There's something defective in you. You're incapable of staying interested in recovery or sobriety, or you just can't stay interested. I remember being in the middle of a therapeutic talk with somebody who was good. I liked them. They were bright. It was interesting. And I wanted to get out of it. I needed a drink. And I knew you just can't explain to those people. You need a drink to settle down enough to talk about how not to drink. I had no idea that there was something good was happening there. You know, that was the first part of the first step. I believe that my higher power allowed me to experience my powerlessness over alcohol in a kind of a special way, like a blessed day, you know. I got to feel totally, I knew, because I am the type that gets drunk again, you know. And I went back to New Jersey, and I wintered in Jersey with a bunch of broken down priest alcoholics. I was the youngest one there by 16 years. People there, most of the people there were so old. They were as old as I am now. And we went to meetings every day. We went to, 5 and 6 Roman Catholic priests, and we had to wear our suits and Roman collars and get crammed into a car and go driving to a Protestant church basement to meet God. It's part of his sense of humor. And I liked meetings right away. I had no idea that I was ready for the program. I was so sure that Alcoholics Anonymous would not work or not help me that I was relaxed in meetings. I was not in suspense. I was thinking, oh gee, I wonder. No, I wasn't wondering, oh gee, will this help? I was very coldly cynical, the pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization. But something happened. And it happened right away. The thing started just going. And I didn't know anything good was happening. I felt better. I was identifying with people. And I wasn't so surprised that I heard stories where you were really bad. And I lived a real bad story myself. I saw my father die. I saw my uncle show up in the middle of the night after a 6-month drunk, stinking and dirty and crazy. I smelled and felt alcoholic drinking and what it does. I was ready for the stories. That didn't impress me, but I loved it anyway. I love good stories. And then what was more, I don't know, the stories but then I thought you were going to be real religious and righteous and give me a pep talk and tell me to try harder, And instead of that, you talked in this way we talk around here. Instead of saying, well, I finally did it, you say, well, it beats me. I'm sober. Can you imagine that? Wow. So you never thought this would happen. There was no sense of strength and victory and dominance, and there was a sense of humor and a sense of gratitude and a sense of relief that it got to be sober. Oh, what a relief. And I don't have to beat my brains out figuring out how to get enough to drink to do the trick, but not too much to screw it up, but just enough to do, And I thought, I can take that, I can stand relief. I just don't want to have to be strong and righteous and have to have the same attitude, the good attitude all the time. And you were moody, immature, sexually out of control. Anyway, but this was all encouraging to me. That it really, the more I think about it, it was something that's lined up like really bad alky, sober, with a spirit of gratitude and relief that you got to be sober. A bunch of character defects that were still there, and a behavior that was respectful and loving to one another, and was reaching out and doing good stuff with people, all together. And that just identifying with you that way, it just opens your heart to a morale that lets you know you can live now. You don't have to be perfect, but you do change. I can't become what I want. What I want to be, the way I want to turn out, is to be so good, so perfectly well-adjusted psychologically, so hip, so good at my judgment on what to wear. So competent in my work, so deeply spiritual, and so rich. That you can't get me, that you can't humiliate me or get me or reject me. You'll have to accept me. That's what I want, because I don't trust you and I don't trust God. And so God doesn't give us that. He can give me that anyway. And to have this thing of where people are just so obviously self-centered and immature, and sober, and grateful, and willing to go on a 12-step call and be God's instrument for saving someone's life and have a good laugh. Man, that opens up everything, It's like reopening for business as a human being, And we can't get our way. I can't get my way at all, And then you find out it doesn't matter. It does, somehow down deep, it does not matter if we ever get our way. What is my way? My way is my dream, a fear-driven, ego-driven dream of for safety, and to take what's, to kind of find out what's next and get into it, participate, take my turn, tell my stuff, do my commitment, show up, and then find that there's life. I know I just couldn't sit still. I just waiting for everything to get over all the time, And when I first started to enjoy ordinary stuff, it was shocking. I didn't know how to act. When I found out that I actually liked to meet families with little kids, with babies, I used to have baptisms after the 12 o'clock Mass, most parishes. Now, if you've been drinking during the week and you didn't have enough sleep and you just celebrated 2 Masses and shook hands with 2,000 people, then you get to meet 6 babies with their families. There's no energy left, There's no capacity. You just got to be a zombie and walk through this thing. And the first time I was in that situation, and I thought, oh, good. They're having kids still. Great. Let's meet. And to see the excitement of parents over their baby, and and all this, the life and the spirit and the thing, and I thought, you're enjoying this. I hadn't enjoyed anything like that for years. You actually aren't so concerned how much time it's taking, although I'm a little advanced for me. I'm still timing most things. And as that began, one of the things that almost got, slipped out of my attention, and that was a message that came to me in my recovery house. And it didn't come in words, but I was, I got to the stage where I finally was sure that I would die drinking, and the message came. You are not sentenced to drink. You don't have to drink. You're an alcoholic, and you will drink and die, unless you stay willing to be a dingbat alkie of the worst kind, who needs to be kept on a short leash forever. If you're willing for that, relax. You don't have to drink. One day at a time. It's settled. Don't worry about it. It's settled. You don't have to be nervous. Just relax. You don't have to drink. If you're willing to be a dingbat alkie and show up, play ball. And that just came through. I don't know, I'm putting it in words. I'm describing something that I didn't figure that out at all. I'm trying to describe, I guess, what I consider a grace that a higher power gives us in Alcoholics Anonymous, And it isn't like he said, no, you have to do all this or I won't give it to you. It's, no, I'm giving this to you. And not only am I giving you sobriety a day at a time, I'm giving you a program where you get to do things that will enable you to stay interested in the gift. I can't stay interested in sobriety as a gift unless I'm in good enough shape to appreciate it, And it seemed to me that the program is that kind of thing. I feel a little preaching tone coming in my voice, so I guess I better quit. And thank you for being good sports and sitting here all this time. Thank you.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.